This takes a little longer. Okay, here we are. Here
All
we
right.
are. Hello. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, man.
Why do we put up facades? Why do we avoid revealing to those that are important to us, or maybe avoid revealing it in our normal day-to-day life? Why do we keep a good portion of our life or our persona behind glass?
That's a deep question, man. That's
what we do.
Right. Well, let me think. There's a lot of ways to answer that. Because when you're okay, so let's break it down. So you're saying people have a tendency to keep a part of their persona, like
I think we all do that
yeah.
for safety, right?
Sure.
Protection.
I think because people don't.
I have never seen you stump.
No, because it's a hard question to answer. Because there's a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different ways to go. Because I think people wear masks, right? I think people do it intentionally and unintentionally. They don't realize it. I think part of it, the intentional masks that people wear, I think, are ones where people think they have to act a certain way or appear a certain way to a certain crowd or a certain group of people or within a certain profession, right? So they think, like, take lawyers, for instance, right? People think coming out of law school, I thought I had to be a certain way. I had to act a certain way. I'm like, I'm a lawyer now. Like, I have to be like prim and proper.
That's like the assumption of the public's expected image of you.
Yes, the public's expected image of lawyers was this in my head. So when I came out of law school and said, I should act like this, then I realized, like, that's not me, and I had to dig into that a little bit and understand myself a lot better. And over time, you kind of pull back the masks. I think you take them off. I think when you get comfortable enough with yourself. To answer the question on a global perspective, I would say people don't take the time to get comfortable with themselves. Because once you become comfortable with yourself,
okay.
I think then you can start shedding the bullshit masks you put on your whole life. And that's how I see part of it. I mean, I think there's other reasons too, but that's if I'm looking at just a global answer to that question. That's how I would. That's what I would
let's
say.
Unwind that a bit. So, do you feel that it's simply we don't truly understand each other or every layer, or do you think we do, but we're in denial of part of our persona, in denial of aspects of who we are?
Both,
or we just simply want to hide them?
I think all three of those things. So I think yes, one, we don't always understand ourselves because we don't take the time to learn ourselves. Two, we do want to hide certain parts of ourselves, or two, we don't even want to understand ourselves. We kind of know it's there, but it's uncomfortable. Like looking in the mirror, like the whole shadow self journey, right? That's the most uncomfortable journey a person can go on. When you're looking in the mirror at all the negative qualities you have, and I'm trying to understand it, unpack it, and why do I do this, and why am I this way, and how do I channel it differently? That's an ugly process, right? It's an uncomfortable process because now you're calling into question all the shitty things you've done in life, all the shitty ways you've acted, and you're facing it. You're not avoiding it. You're not, regressing it. You're not, deflecting it. You're facing it head on. Most people aren't willing to do that because it's super uncomfortable.
Yeah, I would thoroughly agree with that. I think oftentimes you can take the reverse of that, though, and you can make the argument that we put all this pressure on ourselves that we're like this bad person because we have all these things that we've either failed or we've done incorrectly, or maybe we've hurt some people, and the world must be viewing me in a certain way. But that can be ridiculous thinking because most people don't care about anyone else outside of themselves.
Exactly
we have that viewpoint that everyone's staring at it. It's like you're walking down the street in a parade and all your faults are being worn as warts on your body.
Right.
We think that.
Yeah, it's not the case, though.
We wear it like it's visible to everybody. And in reality, no, they can't see it, but they really aren't even looking anyways.
No, because most people, that was the best piece of advice I got when it came to public speaking. 90% of the audience isn't listening to you because they're too caught up in their own shit. I was like, that made it a lot easier to speak in front of large groups of people because the nerves are gone. It's like, I know 90% of this crowd isn't hearing a word I say, isn't listening. Or maybe they are, but they're not really paying deep attention because I know I do that, right? When I'm watching someone speak. I'm caught up in my own shit sometimes.
Yeah.
I have to intentionally focus on someone. If I go to an event and listen to someone speak, I have to tell myself I have to be intentional about watching it and listening and understanding it. Most people we're egocentric by nature, human beings.
Mm-hmm.
So we're caught up in our own shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think. That's why, we don't really care about other people.
So when you meet somebody, do you kind of go in with the preconceived notion that you're only going to be revealed a certain portion? Now that percentage probably is different from every new acquaintance, but do you go in with the idea that I'm really never going to know about this person in this first meeting? Do you go in with that notion, or do you go in there trying to obtain as much information as you can?
So are we talking professionally?
Let's talk professionally first.
Okay. Professionally, I always say when I meet somebody, my job is to understand them at the deepest level I can in the moment, in the time I have, right? I may not have enough time to understand somebody, at that deep of a level yet. But if I'm meeting a person, like, I'm looking at their body language, I'm looking at how they sit, where they sit, the inflections in their voice, what they're saying, the words they're choosing. I'm watching all of this stuff because again, over time, speaking to enough people like I have, you start to understand patterns of behavior, patterns of language. So I can kind of understand a person by just watching how they move, watching how they interact, watching how their body moves, and watching the words they choose. So I try to understand it. Then I ask questions, and I do want to understand as much as possible. Do I go into that meeting thinking to myself, this person may not give me their true self? Yeah, I do. There's always that, because there's got to be a level of trust. Like, most people won't reveal their total self until they trust a person. And so, professionally, someone has to trust me before they give me all the information. So my job is to get you to like and trust me as quickly as possible.
What about in your personal life?
I think it's the same thing. I think when you meet somebody in a personal sense, I think humans by nature, we don't reveal everything. Right? Until we feel a comfort level with that someone, or trust with that. Now there have been times in my life where, that is instantaneous. You feel that trust in that, connection instantaneously. And it's just, all the walls come crashing down. But the majority of personal interactions I've had in my life have not been like that.
Yeah, and that's sad in a way. I mean, not specific to you. It's just sad in general that we all of us seem to be walking around with a lot of facade being the leading thing that we do.
Yeah, I mean, I always try and be authentic, right? Like, that's I'm just me. Like, now, will I reveal everything to everybody? Not necessarily, right? To the people that I trust completely, sure. But again, I always, in a personal sense, like, I always say, because again, it's hard for me to distinguish acting in a personal and professional sense. I'm a lawyer, so I only answer questions asked. Like, I don't volunteer information to people.
Right.
So if you ask me a question, I'm only going to answer the question you asked me, even if there's other pieces of information that create context to that answer. If you didn't ask the question, I'm probably not going to give you the answer unless you're
less
a
tactical,
person,
right?
It's tactical. Unless you're a person that I truly trust, and the walls have come down, then I'll give you everything. But that doesn't happen very often in life,
right? Yeah, I often think too that, and I can only pull from personal experiences.
Sure.
My decades have rolled along here. I know I spent a good portion of my younger decades, living in a way where I was presenting somewhat of a facade of who I was, very afraid to reveal more of the personal aspect of what I was, or insecurities. I think that's pretty natural.
Yeah.
But as you get older, you either care less, I think, or you realize that you can be more effective, being a little more honest with your presentation of oneself.
Yeah.
Especially with new acquaintances and new associates and things like that. I think it's a learned lesson. And I'm not really sure there's a way to, I could be wrong, teach younger people to there's a better way to do that. I think youth has a lot of, I don't know if it's competitiveness, maybe not, but youth has a lot of superficial ideas baked
Oh
into
yeah,
it.
100%.
You know,
100%. There's a lot of superficial ideologies in the youth of today. Like they look at the world differently. I think, as I've gotten older, I'm 46. I think I've learned a lot about life and how to navigate the world. But again, there are certain times in life where you'll, the walls will come down, and you have to be comfortable with that. And I think the youth don't even understand what that feels like because they're so superficial because of social media, and they feel like they have to put on this facade to look a certain way because they think this is what will attract a person, or this is what an employer is looking for. This is what my next significant other is going to look for. I have to put on this facade. But the most freeing experience is when you can truly be yourself. All of you, not just the piece you think people perceive you as, or the piece you think you have to put out there, but all of you. Like the good and the bad.
Yeah. It's like I think with times we fall into a trap of if we don't get correct with who we are as opposed to what we project. If we don't get correct with that over time, we end up falling into traps where we start trying to feed and steer our life based on that facade. To the point where we end up starting to believe our own bullshit.
Yeah.
100%. It's self-perpetuating. It gets worse and worse, and it can,
it
can lead you down avenues. And before you know, you turn around and look like this is so far away from what I am as a person, what my belief structure is.
Well, I look at it when you're young, right? You have how you project yourself and who you are. There's a gap. I think if you're navigating life the right way and understanding yourself as a person, as you get older, that gap closes. Not like I'm at the point where there isn't a gap.
Absolutely.
Who I am and who I project is the same person.
Right.
Now, will I always project every part of me to every person I'm in contact with? No, because they don't have to see every part of me. But there are certain people who I will do that with. They will see every piece of me.
Sure.
They will. Those are few and far between.
Yeah. It's just an interesting topic because I don't think anyone is immune from wanting to put their best foot forward all the time. I think if you do it with integrity, meaning like I want to put my best foot forward, but I want my integrity intact, which I think as you get older, you do that more often.
Yeah.
When you're young, you're not worried about the integrity component as much.
But I think young people don't understand what integrity is. Okay. That's a big thing. I think people have people define integrity differently.
Well, maybe the definition when we're younger is different.
Yeah, I think because I look at integrity. It's not doing right or wrong. It's understanding who I am and acting in alignment with that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But I think when you're young, like when I was young, I thought integrity was like doing the right thing. Like I have integrity. Like I will make the right choices.
Okay.
I will.
That's character.
It's character, but I think as you're younger, that's kind of how integrity is.
I would agree.
They're conflating integrity and morality.
No question.
And to me, it's like they're different. Like morality is one thing, and morals are relative, I believe, as well. Like we've talked about the moral relativism, but I think integrity, as I've gotten older, that definition to me is acting in alignment with who I am as a person.
Yeah.
Like, are my actions in alignment with who I say I am? Because if they're not, then I don't have integrity. Like if they are, then that's integrity. Whether they are moral or not,
that's irrelevant.
That's irrelevant.
Right.
It's
right.
This is my beliefs. This is what I say my beliefs are. Do I act in accordance with that?
Yeah, which that's the ultimate question of hypocrisy with religious folks.
Sure.
Not religious folks, but people that ascribe to a certain religion outwardly.
Sure.
It always opens oneself up to, are you trying to live based on the tenets of your belief?
Yeah, and again, I think religion is an interesting topic because there's so many different things about it. Right? There's so many different ways. Like I look at religion as faith and having belief in faith, and how you display that. I display are two different things. It's
I agree.
And I think people get caught up in I know a lot of people in the business world that, I hate to say this way, but almost use religion as a cover.
Oh,
Like
and
they're
it's been going on
outwardly like, you know,
beginning of
I'm
time.
involved in the church. I do all this stuff. You know, I donate to this. I donate to that.
They use it as
Like,
a sales tactic.
but it's like, and then in the background, they're not acting in alignment with that. Because again, to me, it's like, you know, religion is what you believe, right? And again, everybody sins, right? I don't think people are without sin, but I think there are a lot of people out there that use this religion as they want people to think they are above certain other people because I go to church every Sunday. I do this, I do that. And meanwhile, but they have this whole other side of themselves that's not in alignment with that. So that's what the integrity breakdown is. See it all the time in the business world, like all the time, because there's these people out there that use religion and their relationship, not even to religion, but to church, to a church, to an organization as this means I'm a good person. I'm the right person to do business with. Sometimes it's right. Most of the time in the background, they are not acting in alignment with some of the principles of their religion.
100%. Another Jim Rohn quote, he used to say, I hope I'm getting this right, but he said, religion, your religion is not a credential.
Correct. Yes. I agree. I mean, 100% agree with that.
People try to use it.
Yeah. Like, yes, like 100%. And that's the problem. And that's, again, I think there's just a breakdown of integrity in society today is that people, because again, I always say, if you're a shitty person, just be a shitty person. At least you have integrity. At least you have integrity. If you're an asshole, be an asshole all the time. Yeah, I'm like, okay, you're an asshole with integrity. But if you try and be nice in one sense, but you're an asshole in the background, then I don't believe shit you say because there's no integrity in your actions. You know, like how I always watch how people treat like waitresses, waiters.
Absolutely.
Because that to me says a lot. They may act like this, I'm so great, I'm so kind, but if they treat someone like that, like shit.
I mean, I've seen that a lot in my life.
I have too.
And then you realize that it's all bullshit and it's all a facade. And it does, that person really never has to say another thing because now you've seen his or her character integrity or they're being exposed.
How a person treats someone that can do nothing for them says everything you need to know about that person.
Yeah, and that would be character, correct?
That's character, but to me that is the biggest measuring stick. And I will watch that. Like I've been with people that I've considered doing business with, and I've watched them act in a certain way to people that I know could not help them any way. I'm like, I won't do business with you. You're an asshole. Like you know, like that to me says everything. How you treat someone that can do nothing for you, to me, is the biggest measuring stick of a person's character.
No, I would agree. And that exposes how weak we are as a species when it comes to humility.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
We can't look at life that way.
Yeah. I mean, I just think there's a lot of breakdowns in society right now with the way people are operating, navigating. I think there's a lot of influence out there on the younger generation that is not great. That's making them think they have to be a certain way. We just need to get back to basic principles in this country, like basic fundamental life principles, and not be so toxic, not be so argumentative. If you want to have your beliefs, that's cool. Like you can have yours. I don't have to have your beliefs.
Right.
You don't have to have mine. Right.
Right.
But we are so in this having to win mentality. Like we have to win. Like my side has to win. My beliefs are more important than yours. If you don't believe me, you're a piece of shit hypocrite, which is not how it should be.
Well, not everything in life is a competition.
No,
as a matter of fact,
be a competition.
Is it right? And as a matter of fact, when you live that way, you never really experience the joy of what true positive competition can yield.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I mean,
everything's life or death, and
only competition I have is who I was yesterday. Like that's what I say. Like I'm competing against the guy I was yesterday. Am I better?
100%. 100%. I remember having this kind of epiphany many, many years ago because had a friend who made everything a competition in life, whether it was the kind of car he drove, the watch he wore, his opinions, the stocks he bought, whatever. And he would verbalize it constantly. We still kind of liked the guy. We hung out with him.
Yeah.
But it was always about a competition. That's how he would go. And I remember going to a Pirate game with him. Never forget this, early 90s maybe. And just seeing him have an opinion on everything and banter about it. And after a while I was looking, I don't think this guy gets it. We're here for enjoyment.
Right.
This is about camaraderie and fun.
Yep.
Whether they win or lose. And I think they were winning at the time, believe it or not. But it was like he was not able to determine an appropriate event based on competitive fun.
Yeah.
And how he was living every moment of his life
in competition.
He can't even define with who, just anyone and everything.
Yeah. And again, I think those are people that are looking for validation. They need the competitiveness is their validation, right? If they win or beat somebody in something, it validates
always has
everything.
something to prove.
Yeah, exactly.
But to who he couldn't articulate it.
Right. And most people can't. Like I used to be that when I was younger, right? Like I was always a competitive person until I realized, like, who am I competing against? Like I know what I'm trying to do. And I know, okay, to get to where we want to be, if we want to be this powerhouse, $100 million law firm, I have to grow into the man that can be the person to run that. That is not me today. So my competition is, how do I keep improving? Am I better than I was yesterday? If I can say yes more than no to that question, I will eventually get there. That's how I look at competition. That's the only competition I have. I don't look at other firms, look at other people. It's, am I better than I was yesterday? Don't have to be it every day. Don't have to say yes every day. There will be some days I'm like, no, I was a piece of shit today. I didn't do anything. I'm not better than I was yesterday. But I get up the next day and ask myself the question again. And as long as I can do, or I can answer that question yes more times than I say no, I'm ahead of the game.
How do we try to instruct young people to learn that skill or to develop that skill?
I mean, I think that's got to be taught at a young age. I think the first thing that has to be instilled in young people is work ethic. Because if you can instill that, then they have the raw material to compete against themselves. If they don't have work ethic, forget it. You can't teach the competition piece, right? Because it takes work. Like if I'm trying to improve every day, that means I have to do more than I did yesterday.
Okay.
Or something different than I did yesterday, or learn something new, than I did yesterday. To do that, I have to have work ethic. It's going to a 9 to 5 and coming home and just sitting on the couch and doing nothing last night. That's not going to cut it. So I think we have to teach kids work. We can't hand everything to them. We have to teach them to work for things. We have to teach them that life is hard. We've been too inclined to, our generation is a problem, to shelter our kids from harm and from hurt and from pain. But that's life. Life is pain.
Right.
But the pain is what makes the joyful moments that much better.
Certainly.
If you don't endure pain or disappointment or heartbreak, you don't understand the pleasure and the extent of the pleasure you get from those joyful moments.
Oh,
everything becomes static quo.
I definitely agree.
So we've sheltered our kids from so much of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you think about that's why you look at kids, they don't all have these joyful moments because they haven't felt the heartache. Everybody gets a trophy. Like I remember playing baseball as a kid. Like if you lost, I was fucking pissed.
Right.
Like fuck this. Like I lost. Like I was mad. I didn't get a trophy for second place. I lost. First place wins. Second place does not win. Right. Now it's like you showed up. Here you go, Timmy. Here's your bat.
Yeah, for sure.
You have a bat. You don't have to swing it, but you're gonna get a trophy because you're here. Your parents paid the $100 to play in the tournament. You're getting a trophy. What does that teach a kid?
It's just an event for that kid.
It's an event. So even
an activity.
So if they go to that tournament and take first place, or last place,
right. There's
matter. Not that much of a variable difference in the feeling.
No.
Now, when we were kids, last place, you were fucking mad till the next season.
Of course.
First place is like you were on cloud 9 for the next 6 months.
Right.
Two different ways of operating.
True. Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I would hope that we go through valleys, peaks and valleys in society, and we're going to eventually come out of this fog.
I hope so.
At some point. But
I hope so.
you know, and it's my generation did the helicopter parenting and all that stuff, you know, 15, 20 years ago when we created a lot of softer children.
Yeah,
I'm not saying
100%.
soft, but I'm saying that it's tough to talk in generalities. But I feel safe to say that kids have more than they've ever had. Kids want for less, more than they ever have. You know what I mean? We just are in a position where, all of us, life is a lot easier
100%.
now. It's, you know, it's easy to exist in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, I know my kids have it easier than I did, or you and I did. I mean, I make it easy for them.
Certainly.
But I also, I'm doing my best to instill work ethic in them, the value of $1, you know, what it's going to take to be successful, that it's not going to be handed to them.
Right.
You know, and I think we're doing an okay job. You know, my kids are well adjusted. They're not, you know, they'll do the work. I think, you know, the girls are still younger. Like Gabe's, you know, working for me now.
Right.
You know, he did well in college. He's gonna go to law school next year. So he understands it. It's just, we have to take ownership of that, our generation, and start reversing course, or at least trying to.
Certainly. The joy of achievement is, you can't substitute that in society. You know, and what that brings, what that yields. If you remove that from society, you know, you're robbing society of joy.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's what we're doing right there. And again, this may come off the wrong way. I don't mean it this way, but when you say that everybody's opinion, everything they care about matters, then nothing really matters, right? If you say it's all you know, like you want to be this, it's all the same. There's no real joy in the achievement of something, because it's like, you know, everything. If you want to be the 5th place team, that matters. That's important. Here's a trophy. If you're 5th place, like, no, like there's no trophy for 5th place. There's no 5th place, doesn't count. 5th place doesn't matter. But now it's like, no matter where you are in the line of accomplishment, it matters. And we're telling people that, and it doesn't. That's not how the world works.
Yeah, we are, at least from my perspective, and I felt this way for many years now, we are letting some folks navigate their life based upon their whims, their ever-changing whims. And we are giving them the ability to give those whims ultimate decision within their life, ultimate validation, and not call it for what it is. You know, there's got to be a hierarchy of decisions you make and thoughts you have and directions you take. You know, that's how I would hope we learn to maneuver in our lives. But when we elevate whims and give a whim rights and elevate that to a directional point above everything else, regardless of how illogical it may sound, because we don't want to hurt feelings, that really has caused some issues.
I mean, it's caused a lot of issues. And the biggest thing I see is the lack of accountability in life anymore. Everything is someone else's fault. If someone doesn't accomplish something they wanted to accomplish, well, there's always an excuse for it. How about maybe just look in the mirror and say, I didn't do what was necessary? Because that's 99.9% of the time the problem, right?
Certainly.
If you're not where you want to be in your business or in your career or in life in general, it's probably because you didn't do what was required, or you didn't figure out what was required. Instead, most people are blaming, well, this didn't happen, that didn't happen, this person didn't do this person didn't do this. No, it's you didn't do the things that needed to be done. But people do not want to take accountability now. We play the victim mentality too much.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. I'd like to hope that eventually that would subside some. I just don't know what'll be the change. You know, we've talked on this podcast many times that what's going to make the change, what's going to be the thing that spearheads us to make some personal corrections, you know, with the average person having to correct their behavior and able to go forward in life. And we've both said that, you know, it's too easy. Life is easy. We've made it very easy just to exist anymore. And I remain steadfast in my belief that the only thing that really is going to spark us into change on a broad basis based upon our behavior is if we see really bad economic times, which I don't wish on any of us. But that's the, you know, maybe a a war or hard economic times, it's for us to change as a species. It really is going to take a seismic event.
Yeah, people need to get kicked in the nuts. That's what has to happen. I mean, really, to change behavior at such a systemic level, like it does take something like that, or just a lot of people just getting kicked really hard, because people need to experience that. Like, think about, again, I come down to when I just think about business owners I know and entrepreneurs that are always, that something's going on in their business. They're not, they're not bringing as much business as they could, or they don't have many customers as they could. It's like, well, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? They're always blaming something else.
Of course.
It's like, did you do what was required? Right? I can't find customers. Well, why can't you find customers? Well, the market's bad. No one's buying. The economy's bad. Well, there are people out there buying your products. You just didn't take enough time and put in the effort to find all of them. You took the comfortable road. Like, it's to do the things that lead to success is super uncomfortable. Like, extremely uncomfortable. Like, you can't have it all. You can't do it all. I tell this to potential clients and clients all the time when it comes to entrepreneurship. If you want to be successful, you are going to have to give up certain things. You're going to have to make choices and make sacrifices. If you're not willing to do that, then be okay where you are. But if you're not happy where you are, something has to give.
Well, see, that goes to the whole delusional state that I think that the society lives in often, whereas it seems to me that talking about something and doing something and creating this imaginary like vortex that they're already there is good enough that you don't actually have to do it.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense? Like the discussion of doing it, or or projecting the image that you're already doing it.
Yeah, it's analysis paralysis.
Takes the place of actually doing it.
Yeah, I see that all the time with people. They talk about the things you're going to do. It's like, what did you do? Well, no, I'm planning. I'm like, don't just do.
But they feel like they're already there. See, it's an illusion.
It is because
or a delusion.
Because if they feel like it's progress, it's busy over productive. Like, that's what it boils down to. What you're saying is really the dilemma of busy versus productive. They're busy planning and
busy work
and thinking about things you're going to do. It's like, be productive. Instead of spending 3 hours planning all the social media posts you're going to do, how about just take an hour and post on social media or connect with people on social media? Like, do that. Like, you don't have to plan, just ready, fire, aim.
Well, yeah, it's like isn't that the dilemma of sales people in general, and always has been? It's like you can create the illusion of success through busy work. And again, Jim Rohn, what are you doing every day? Are you a guy comes home from work, tells his wife he's just exhausted, he plops down in the chair, and in his mind he's exhausted, but really all he's doing all day is just careening from wall to wall. And it's wearing them out, but you're not going to make any sales careening from wall to wall. You're not spending your time where the money's at.
Right. And people need to understand, being busy drains energy. Being productive gives you energy.
Certainly.
Like, I know that about myself. Like, if I have a productive day, like, I may be tired, but I'm also energized. Like, I got so much shit done. I feel good. You feel like, like pumped up. Like,
certainly.
Hey, when I'm just doing busy work, like, I'm like, this is bullshit. I'm exhausted. Like, you don't really got anything accomplished. I did a bunch of shit.
Achievement, man. That's achievement.
But there's no real, nothing moves the needle forward.
Right.
Being productive moves the needle.
Right.
I'd rather be productive for an hour than busy for 3.
Yeah. And isn't that the ultimate discussion of work in this country? If you putting in time or becoming more valuable. What is it? What do you want?
Exactly. Be more valuable. Like, don't just because you exist in a company for 5 years does not mean you should make 5 times what you made when you started, or even more than you make when you started. You got to add value. If I pay you X and you work for me for 5 years and you added no additional value from what I paid you originally, why'd I give you a raise? Don't say cost of living adjustment, because everybody says, well, you need a COLA adjustment. Well, no, you don't guarantee that in life. If you want a cost of living adjustment, be better. But most people just think that it's time over value, right? If I just put in the time and do what's expected, I'm going to eventually make more money, be more successful.
So where did that come from?
I don't have a fucking clue. I don't have a clue.
Like historically, I would love to get into a discussion with someone in the know. You know, employment in this country, the history of employment. You know, where did that mind? You know, where did it shift?
Because I know when I came out of law school, like I knew in my head from what mentors had told me that if I wanted to either be a partner in a law firm or be successful in corporate America, I'd outwork people. I had to be the first one there and the last one to leave. I had to go chase the work, go get the work. Like you can't just be busy, right? I had to be productive. Now they would say like you had to be there long hours, but I had to be productive during those hours. I had to produce. It wasn't just about being there; it was about actually producing while I was there.
But don't you think there's elements within the American corporate system that reward showing up, that reward busy work?
I think there are. Yeah, I think there are elements that do reward busy work, because if it's busy work that someone has to do, right? But I do think there is a reward for putting in time, like not length of time of service, but time in the day. Like I look at like when I was a young lawyer, I remember sticking around till 6, 7 o'clock at night. I mean, I had nothing to do, but I was just there in case someone needed me. I wanted to be the person they came to because I was still in the office.
Right.
It was me.
That's part of a larger plan, though.
Right. But that's how I was providing value, right? I was there when someone needed me.
Got it.
And most people nowadays in many professions, especially professional services they're doing what they think they should be doing and no more than that. And I've talked to people in professions like lawyers, accountants, like young professionals. A constant theme is I will work harder when I'm paid more. Like that's what people say. Like, really? I will put in more time when I make more money. It's like, well, then you're going to be stuck in this dilemma for a long fucking time, because the only way to make more money is to work harder. It's the chicken and the egg. But that happens a lot. Like people say, like, yeah, if I was making 100 grand, I'd probably work harder. It's like, how about you work like you make 100 grand, and then you'll make 100 grand. Like that's what I was taught. Like, work and dress for the job you want, not the job you have.
Right. Yeah, that whole value component thing seems lost a lot today.
It is. It's because, again, and I'm getting very elementary here, but I think the younger generations don't understand value because they don't carry cash. Like that's a simple thing too, right? Like when you, as a kid, like you knew the value of $20, because if I had a $20 bill,
right,
like in college, like that had to get me through the week. I'm like, I'm going to make this motherfucker last for a week. That's going to get me a case of beer, a foot-long sub on Sunday, and a pizza on Friday. That was my $20 was going to last me for that week in college, right?
Right.
It was tangible. I knew what it was. Now it's like, oh, it's put on credit card. Like they don't understand the concept of that. And that translates into the workforce, because I knew that $20, right? If I was making $20 an hour, like I can equate that, like that had to last me. So I knew what my hour was worth. Now it's like, they don't even equate the two, because they don't understand the value of money, because money's, it's just a thing to them. It's just, it's a credit card. We'll just put it here and someone's going to pay for it and I'll eventually pay it off. It's not the same as it used to be. That's how I look at it.
I think so. But I also think it does start at home.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. I mean, there's a lot of things that start at home, right? A lot of those lessons are taught there, like about value. Like that's something that I think is lost. It's not taught in school. Like we're not taught in school with time over value. We're not. I mean, think about what class were you taught that in school? Even when we were younger, no one told me that if I just become more valuable, I'll make more money. And we were taught just put in your time. Put in your time, you'll retire, you'll make money. It's like, well, that's not how it works now.
Well, I mean, if you really want to get into the weeds, a lot of us were in public schools, taught by teachers, union teachers.
Sure.
And it isn't a knock against their quality, their education at all. It's just the system that they're working under has some of the strongest tenure laws in organized unions. Am I right? I mean, it's just so we were being instructed by people who understood that idea. Putting in time and You know,
Yeah, I mean,
these were educated people, though. They're not like, they weren't non-college degreed people.
but think about why the traditional school system was started was to create factory workers. That's the 3 o'clock bell. Like the whole system, the American education system was truly started by what I think the Rockefellers, right? To create factory workers.
Yeah, there's a rabbit hole.
I mean, there's a lot of rabbit holes you can go down. Speaking of rabbit holes, did you watch the debate?
I did.
I know you don't talk politics
anymore. I didn't watch it live. I had to watch it the next day because I had to be in bed.
Holy shit, the memes are hilarious.
They are.
Like the
I just can't believe this is where we are.
The best part of it all, the fact that they had a 1-minute discussion about golf. About who is a better golfer. And when Donald Trump had to say, let's not be children. And Biden's like, you're the one being a child. Like I was watching that and I'm like, oh my God, here we are. However, the internet is an amazing place. And I've watched on my flight home today, I've watched so many videos of people taking that soundbite and making their own videos out of it. It's fucking genius.
Well,
genius.
It goes to that whole thing goes to the premise that I've believed for a long time that we live in a cartoon.
I mean, that was a cartoon. That was legitimate a cartoon.
We are electing 2 people over the age of 77.
One who literally didn't know where he was, which I felt bad for, definitely. The other one's as a convicted felon. And like, yeah, these are the best 2 people in America that could be president. Let's get these 2. Because again, I felt bad.
It's a cartoon.
I felt bad because you don't want to see anybody in that condition, especially the president of the country. Like, and watching Biden, like, it's very apparent he's compromised. He's compromised. He's not there. If you watch, they didn't show it on TV, but you can see on the internet the clips. Like when Trump walked up to the debate stage, like he had to his wife had to walk him down the steps.
I saw that,
and that broke my heart. Like you feel bad because you don't want to see anybody in that condition, especially the person who's running for president.
I believe decades ago, if we were put in this circumstance, he'd already be gone.
100%.
We are so polarized and we'll die on that hill for our team. To the point that they could literally hang up Weekend at Bernie's. The guy could be passed away and they could shake him like this and half the people would vote for him. No, really. I mean, I all logic has left the building. Forget the fact that there's all these international crises and all this crap going on. We have a cognitively compromised leader that's it's visible for any rationally thinking human to see that and recognize that.
I mean, at one point he just
here we go.
He tailed off and started mumbling something. He's like, and we beat Medicare. And Trump was like, I don't know what he just said. I don't think he knows what he just said. And I looked, I'm like, he's absolutely correct.
So right at that moment, where is the leadership? Forget the party, all parties. Where's the Senate and the cabinet? Where is the leadership to enact the laws in place to get a cognitive human being in there on the world stage, especially, so we're not taken advantage of? Like that should be.
Yeah,
I honestly can't imagine the era of Reagan and Gingrich and Clinton.
Yeah,
this ever happening. I think if someone was cognitively deficient like that, I think he or she would be taken out. And removed from the office.
But we are too much in the society of we've got to be nice to everybody.
We're so much in this society where there's so much illusion.
Yes.
We're so gullible.
Yeah. I mean, again, I had no idea what to expect watching that debate. They're going, okay, if Biden's willing to debate him, maybe he is mentally sharp. Like, I don't know, because Trump's a sharp guy. Love him or hate him, he's a sharp guy. He can think on his feet.
I wouldn't debate him.
Like he's a good debater. Like he can think on his feet. He can talk. People don't like him, but he did really well.
Yeah,
he knows how to take a question and turn it into what he wants to say.
Right.
He knows how to answer questions. He knows how to steer discussion. Watching Biden, like I just thought to myself, if people vote for him this time, it's just because they hate Trump so bad
No question.
that they'd rather have a brain dead person in the White House than Donald Trump. And to me, that is not the best decision.
No, it's not the best decision, but I would tell you that it's probably going to be rooted on the idea that if you're a liberal, a person of liberal persuasion, liberal philosophy, your hope probably is, I'm voting for Biden because I know that our party someone will rise behind him and there will be a cognitive person there, but at least it'll be the right philosophy. That's what they would tell you. They're going to vote for the philosophy, not the man. But my argument is, if you really look at what's best for the country, especially immediately, it's got to be a functioning, dynamic president who can protect our interests. What other job do they have?
Well, that's right. And how we look on the world stage is not good right now. We need someone to come in there and reverse that, and make us look powerful on the world stage.
I think when, hopefully, nothing bad happens, and hopefully, we get through this period. But I think when over time, when books get written and things get revealed, it's going to be very interesting to actually have it revealed who has been calling the shots in that White House for the past 3 years or so. Like, I mean, I was thoroughly believed that it was part of the old Obama team, or I kind of think now that, like, I think his wife was helping him make final decisions on things.
Sure.
No.
It seems like it could be.
And that took me from left field. I didn't see that coming.
But the other thing is, you don't know about it. It's like the government is sometimes it's just the same, two sides of the same coin. Like, they're both in it for self-preservation, both sides.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's like, well, let's just get Biden to win so we can preserve the power, the party of the power, or the power of the party, excuse me. I think that's a lot of times what it is. They're not in it for the greater good. They're in it for themselves, and how do they retain power? And so both sides will work together behind closed doors, I believe, to make sure they all retain power. And that's a scary thing.
It is something
they debated about golf.
It's a cartoon. It's a cartoon, man. I mean, like, we live in a cartoon. There's very few things.
Biden said, I'll play you in a golf match if you carry your own bags. Like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? Like, when he said that, I started thinking to myself, okay, well, let me try and break this down. Like, what does that have to do with anything?
For 3 years, you and I have been talking on this, whether it's been the live stream or the podcast episodes, that it's so visually apparent that the mumbling, the out of breath discussions, the way he speaks, that he's having trouble. Like, he is having cognitive trouble.
A lot of cognitive trouble. Yes.
And people that are calling him out for over these past 3 years, you have to be sitting there, because I know I am saying to myself, are people finally waking up, or are they finally getting to the point where they're being forced to acknowledge what they've already known? That's my question.
That's a good question. I don't know, because I think there are still people out there. Like, I've watched interviews, people saying, "Oh, Biden won the debate. He won the debate." It's like, who the fuck were you watching? I don't even think Biden knew he was in a debate. The guy just thought he was on TV talking, because it was ridiculous. But there are people that, I just think they're.
Well, that's borderline delusion. I mean, you
picked your team. Your team has to win.
Right. I mean, just say, my guy isn't capable anymore. This is the philosophy I believe in. This is what I'm voting for, and someone else will rise from my party, and I'm voting this way. Okay, then I could respect you.
Yeah,
but don't tell me that what I'm seeing is not reality.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yes.
And I think that's been going on in the media for years, last 100%. Couple of years.
I mean, the left.
He's sharp as could be. He's like got more energy than half his staff does. I mean,
he fell off the steps on a plane. How many times? 3 or 4 times. He fell off a bike. He tripped down steps. Like, I mean, how many times we have to see this man get injured or do something that's sad? Is what it is. I mean, and that's what I said. Like, watching him on the debate stage, you kind of feel bad for the guy, because again, he's our president. Whoever is president, I want to see succeed.
Absolutely.
For the country's sake.
Well, we need that.
Yes, but this guy,
dangerous than ever.
He is completely and utterly mentally compromised. And the fact that no one sees it or is looking at it is a bigger problem.
Well, the scary part is, you and I are not there. This is all just a guess. But if his wife is if it's really a power grab where they just don't want to they don't want to give up the lifestyle.
Yeah.
If that's what it ends up turning into, it's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly because there are people in the Democratic Party that will have him removed. I mean, we're headed in that direction now. If him and his family do not concede, I really believe that's going to happen.
I mean, yeah. Look, I think I don't know what's going to happen because I don't know how he can get to November. And people are like, "Yep, this is a smart decision. Let me bet on the guy who had a 1-minute debate about his golf game on a presidential debate stage. Let me do that." Now, they both did that, but who antagonized it?
I just feel bad. He reminds me of not just, people that I know that have Alzheimer's, people in my family, my friends. He just reminds me of someone struggling, struggling.
It's apparent. It's very apparent.
And do we not care enough that that's humiliating? Personal indignity, that's humiliating.
Yeah,
to do that to somebody.
It is, and that's what will cooler heads prevail in this situation. I don't know. We're so far in, right? We're in July now. The election's 4 months away.
I have to tell you, I predicted this.
I'm not saying you didn't, man. I'm not saying you didn't.
I said as it gets closer to the election and his cognitive abilities, there could be a turning point where it's just too late.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're close to that turning point. If they don't do something in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks tops, like that's who the nominee is going to be.
How do they? If he doesn't want to go, how do they remove him?
I don't think he knows if he wants to go or not. I think it's his wife's making that decision. That's what I think. I'm sure there's a mechanism to remove him from the DNC because they can, they're the ones that control
Was it Article 25? I think.
Well, that's for like getting rid of a president.
That's what I don't care about the election. I'm talking about he is not fit to be there on the world stage right now. I mean, how do you make that argument that he is? They're trying on the news today. They're trying to make the argument that he's sharp as a tack and all that. I just don't see any of that.
I mean, look, I'll give credit where credit's due, but that dude is not sharp as a tack. He's not even dull as a tack. Like, he doesn't even know where he is. Like, that's the problem. And again, hate to say that, but when you watched him on that stage debate someone like Donald Trump, it was very apparent who was cognitively sharper.
Right.
And who actually knew their shit.
Yeah.
Very apparent. It's just, that's where we are in this country, my friend.
All right.
Yes.
I could beat this for the next hour.
Let's not do that.
All right. Until next week, my friends.
Yes.
Thank you as usual.